Welcome to the Wide for the Win podcast. Reach readers around the world. Diversify your income. Get your global sales soaring. And break free of any single retailer's stranglehold on your author business. We're here to help you optimize your long-term goals for writing and publishing success. So let's get started.
Hello and welcome to the Wide for the Win wide stream. My name is Mark Leslie Lefebvre, and with me, who's normally not here for the lives because normally you're in a different time zone. It would be like midnight for you, but you're in the you're in one of the U.S. time zones right now, right? Bradley, Charbonneau.
Yeah. I'm in California, so West Pacific time zone.
All right, and we're going to actually get to hang out together at Author Nation next week, right?
I know. I'm looking forward to it. That's one of the reasons I'm here.
Really good. You and myself and several other board members invite for the win. So that's really exciting. But today we're here. We're here to talk about the topic of writing through adversity. So there are times when things are dark, when things are terrifying, when you're frightened, when you're anxious, when you just can't go on potentially. It may be personal things that happen in your life. It may be some large event that may have recently happened that's impacting you, not only because potentially you're fearful for people that you love or you care about, or even yourself. And we're writers. So one of the things that we thought would be important to talk about is writing through adversity and some of the strategies that writers may potentially use. Now, Bradley, I didn't share this with you earlier, but I saw this quote from Toni Morrison come up, and I thought, what a perfect quote. I think about stuff like this. So Toni Morrison said, "This is precisely the time when artists go to work. There is no time for despair, no place for self-pity, no need for silence, no room for fear. We speak, we write, we do language. That is how civilizations heal. I know the world is bruised and bleeding, and though it is important not to ignore it, not to ignore its pain, it is also critical to refuse to succumb to its malevolence. Like failure, chaos contains information that can lead to knowledge, even wisdom, like art." And I do fully believe in what Toni Morrison says, and I think we as storytellers, as writers, are needed.
Yeah. But because we're the ones. I mean, I often look at it as consuming or creating, and consuming is easy, frankly. Watch Netflix or read or anything where you are taking in something, a story or information. It's easy.
Right.
It's passive. Whereas creating, and that's what we as artists do, as creators. I like to use the word create because I see it even beyond writing. Right.
Okay.
I have a podcast. Here we are. We're not writing. Mark and I are not sitting here writing away.
We're creating.
We're creating. We are. But we really are. We're not watching this thing. We're doing this thing. We're making this thing. And that, I think, is what, a lot of people, they just don't have it, or they feel that they don't have it. But frankly, in my humble opinion, they do have it. It's not a matter of, oh, I'm going to create this thing and it's going to be this masterpiece. No, that's not at all it. It's that we consume and we take it in, and we need to let it out.
Right.
Especially if we're taking in, especially adverse or negative, bad stuff. It's kind of like a car or a drain or anything that takes something in and then lets it out. Or frankly, not to get too gross, but like the human body. I mean, we eat. If we just ate all the time and never, let it out, then
I saw that Monty Python sketch. No, but that's right. Yeah, you take it in and you don't release it. I mean, writing for me, I write horror. I've often said that I was like, but you're scared of the dark. You're afraid of the monster under the bed. You're afraid of the boogeyman. It was, and I think I try to channel them. So one of the things I try to do is, well, yes, I'm frightened of these things, and potentially it's therapy. Potentially I'm writing to try to control that horror, to try to steer it in different directions. And here's the one thing I remember. I was talking to Kevin Anderson about this on a similar live stream back during the pandemic is why do we write horror? Why do we write these things? He says, well, two reasons. Like a roller coaster, sometimes it can give you that thrill, but unlike reality, unlike being in a potential like a car that's swerving out of control on the highway where you actually could die, you can close the book and feel safe. Or as a writer, because again, that's consumer aspect. As a writer, you can control that good triumphs over evil, right? So that the malicious evil forces, Lord of the Rings or whatever, that they can actually be defeated in this fiction, because they can't always be defeated in real life.
Yeah, we were talking about that earlier today, especially when the something is out there, is third party or external or extrinsic, and we can't do anything about it, or sometimes worse, we feel like we can't do anything about it. Maybe we've tried to do something about it, but we couldn't, or we thought we did, but we didn't do enough. Or we thought you get into the whole dilemma where you say, you know what, it's done, and what can, and there's this great thing it talks about, self-help, or this is egotistical if I think of myself. But when we're good, then and only then can we be good for others. So it's like the oxygen mask dropping. We have to sort of save ourselves before we can go save others.
Yeah, no, I like that. Again, that self-care is really important. I mean, the other bit of advice is make sure you take care of yourself first, or better yet, treat yourself with the same respect that you treat people that you care about and love, because oftentimes we'll put them first and neglect ourselves. I mean, that happens a lot, where I see particularly people who have very nurturing personalities, as they tend to take care of everyone else first and forget to nurture themselves.
Wow. An empath. I've recently been a good friend of mine. I kind of got it finally when she would use the word empath, but in passing, and I didn't really get it. And then I really experienced it with her when she would see other people, and she would really not only just see them and say like, oh, that person. She said she felt the feelings the others were feeling, or at least that's how she felt. And so there's a kid crying or whatever. She feels it, like, wow, I didn't understand that. That was wow, okay. So you can protect yourself against that as well.
As well, and I do love the idea of being able to control my fears, control my anxieties, and well, see, here's the other thing. Again, because I write in the speculative genres, I'm always going to use examples from that realm. But one of the things about science fiction, we can explore concepts in science fiction that aren't necessarily going to bring readers' defenses up in terms of saying, "Oh, you're talking about me, or you're talking about our society now." No, I'm talking about this. Star Trek, and they've encountered this alien race in which blah 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 blah. So you can kind of put it over there, and when you put it over there, it's the same thing when we're trying to look at ourselves, look at our writing, right? You put your writing over there so someone else, an editor, can help you make it better. The same thing, you put the concepts over here and separate them from yourself so you can analyze them and maybe even understand some of the emotions and stuff like that too.
Nice. Oh, I like that.
Well, again, come on, science fiction, right? A mirror held up to reality, but allows you to see yourself in different ways. And when you look at different, think about Dune, for example, right? One of the greatest science fictions of all time is like controlling the spice. What is the spice, right? And there's so many different things it can be. It's a drug, it's gold, it's all those things all merged. It's like Herbert took them all, just jammed them all into one like big powerful thing. And so, but again, it's talking in different societies that they have on these planets, and the different the clash of the different empires trying to control the spice. So we had there's some comments here. I'm not let's see. Oh, yep, there we go. So Susie, hey Susie, spec fiction genres are so good for exploring the broader human, social, and cultural experiences. Sci-fi, fantasy, magical realism, horror, and thank you for that, Susie. Can I bring up a comment that our colleague Paul Ardoin actually sent earlier today, not being able to be part of this, but wanted to share this for dealing with adversity. And so Paul says, this won't work for everyone, But if I'm dealing with adversity or anxiety, sometimes I'll make a ridiculously insane goal to distract myself from the thing that I'm worried about. This is especially good for me if I can't do anything about the problem, like you said, Bradley. For example, I recently was very worried about a situation with my grown daughter that I couldn't do anything about. I set myself a pretty insane goal on the weekend of writing 20,000 words on a weekend, 20,000 words.
Wow.
And I focused almost my entire energy on completing that goal. It successfully kept me from spiraling during the weekend. So
Yeah.
that's a really interesting strategy that Paul recommends. Is kind of like, okay, I'm just gonna do. I normally, like, maybe Paul writes 5,000. I'm gonna get 5,000 words on a weekend. I'm just assuming my own writing speed.
Yeah.
That's the full weekend, right? But then
Yeah.
20,000 is like, okay, let's get at her. What do you think about something like that?
I like it. I like it because I love how people have different perspectives. I kind of do an opposite technique because that one is big and huge. And to spin that on a positive, with a positive rant, I would say, yes, go for the big one because you're not going to get bored. You're going to go all the way. Let's get to 20,000. Go, keep it going. And I'm keeping myself busy and I'm not thinking about that thing anymore. And I'm busy, 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 busy. So, and I like that. The only downside I could see is, oh wow, it's such a mountain to ascend. Will I ever make it? And maybe you fall off. So I tend to go the other way, and I like tiny little goals that, because I'm big on the ideas of starting and finishing. I
Right,
think,
right,
especially as a creator, I start a gazillion things, but then I don't necessarily finish a gazillion things. And it's not necessarily a bad thing, but there's some kind of even adrenaline and a sense of accomplishment and success and confidence building when you finish something. So I think both could work, and neither is better than the other. But just take your flavor and go have some little thing that you can accomplish, and you have an accomplishable goal. I mean,
right.
maybe it's 1,000 words.
Yeah,
You're really down. And you're like, I can't write one word. Go
right,
for 1,000. Go for it. Finish it. Succeed, revel in your success, celebrate your success, and then ideally at that point, maybe you've moved a level up from the doldrums down where you were just existing, and you've brought yourself up through your own creating. So I think they both could work. Go for the really tiny thing, or like Paul is talking about, that big, massive, scary thing.
I love that because it's a reminder that not there's no one solution, right? Everyone has their own way of doing it. Yes, yes, the big thing can keep you focused and that focus may be so critical just to keep you from meandering, right? I know, for example, in the mornings, I often will not look at my email. I will not look at social media
Yeah.
before I get the writing done because I know myself and I know that I'm probably going to get all
Yeah.
distracted and squirrel my way out of getting any work done.
Absolutely.
So that focus for me is important, but similarly, because I can see the benefit, maybe depending on the mood I'm in or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
Those finishing something, Bradley, you have that like book in the weekend, but it's like this really short thing. It's not this unreachable goal. It's like a thing you can
Yeah.
just get done, and I
Yeah.
think, yeah, that satisfaction of actually accomplishing something and go, oh look, I needed to go from here to here and I made it. Not,
Yeah.
oh, and I'm going to get there, or
Yeah.
something comes up and I failed. So yeah, that's quite
Yeah.
interesting.
And check out Susie's comments here too. She's saying to combine them, and use like this Bradley tiny stuff to get to the Paul big stuff. I like that. That's great.
Yeah, so it's almost like, oh, sorry, is this the one you meant? In
Yeah,
contrast
yeah,
to
yeah.
Paul's
That one,
suggestion, I'll
and
offer a breadcrumb. So just 10 minutes of brainstorming, just 100 words, just 10 more minutes, just 100 more
yeah,
words. So again, you
yeah,
get you get the best. Yeah, I love that. I love that. That is so amazing.
yeah,
Susie also says, totally agree. Small wins build positive momentum. Um, and Bradley small wins can build up to Paul's big win. So you can actually do both. Like
uh
again, it's like the writing sprint, right? So it's kind of like, well, yeah, I
yeah,
got to get this done,
yeah,
but I'm going to do it in 10 or 20, or usually a 20-minute writing sprint or something.
yeah.
And then I'm going to get up and get my coffee. I'm going to stretch my legs. I'm going to
Right,
let the dog
right.
out, whatever it is. So you
Yeah,
can actually accomplish it without burning yourself out.
yeah. On this note, I'd like to make a comment about. I talked a lot about energy. and how I think there are some sort of counterintuitive ideas about energy. And so, for example, like I have teenage boys, and for them, they're like, oh, I'm feeling so lethargic. Let me. I'm not kidding. They're like, let's eat some junk food and sit on the couch and watch Netflix, right?
Mm-hmm.
Even any of those will probably, and they don't understand this, right? Because they're teenage boys, and it will either want any of those will reduce your energy. Where and then they do all three. It's just like it's just bad. And so, and this is the counterintuitive part. I mean, it's just like if you're feeling sluggish and you go run around the block 10 times, it builds up your energy. Whereas like intuitively you would think, no, wait a minute, I would be tired from that, right?
Yes.
And just like the boys, the junk food, the Netflix, the couch, all three of those are bad. If you take the inverse of any of those, go outside, move, and then we're back to the idea of not consuming, watching the Netflix, but creating, which you would think intuitively that's going to cost me energy. That's kind of take brain power and creative power. And this is the weird part. And it's just like the same way that it seems weird that I go run around the block and that brings up my energy levels. Wait a minute, what? I'm running. I should be tired, right? Yeah, you might be physically tired, but it's going to increase your sort of almost emotional or psychological or sort of physiological energy levels, which are then going to bring up your other levels. So
it's so funny because I was at CanCon, Canadian Content of the Society of Speculative Fiction Literature in Canada. It was a conference in Ottawa, Ontario. So good 6-hour drive for me, and I drove back Monday morning, and I had work I needed to get done. So I got up early, and I drove back, and I had work. I did run the weekly indie author bestseller list for Drafted Digital that gets sent off to various places. And then there was more analytics I needed to do, looking at the spreadsheet of data, because it was kind of like analytics of what's working, because I love learning that to share with authors. And my partner Liz sent a text saying, "Hey, do you? I mean, if you have no meetings this afternoon, do you want to play squash today at 3:20 instead of 4:20, or 3:40 instead of 4:20, or whatever the time we normally would play at?" And I was just wanting to take a nap. I'm like, I'm just so exhausted. I think I'm just going to call it quits. I'm just going to go sleep for the rest of the day.
Yeah.
But interestingly enough, I went and played squash with Liz, and just that movement, just that action, and just that interaction with someone who I enjoy spending time with. And I mean, I came back, I did some of the analytics. I did some other work, some other writing, and I normally don't do writing projects in the evening. But I came back from that just energized, like you said. So that physical, and it was kind of like my choices were have a nap, call it quits, or go and do something with someone I really enjoy doing something, and getting that energy back. Even now, like just before we did the live, I'm sitting at my desk, I'm working on some stuff, and I'm like, oh, I have to go be live. Oh, suddenly, I mean, I'm at a standing desk, so that helps. But now thinking about writing, sharing tips on writing. Oh my God, I'm so energized right now. I'm gonna go build something.
Right.
Yeah. Wait, create.
Yeah. And right now, like I'm super jet lagged, but I just got to the States 2-3 days ago. 9 hours difference. I'm waking up at 2-3 a.m. And so like right now it's early afternoon, and I'm feeling it. I'm tired. But my sister wants to go on a walk on the beach, and I'm like, yes, I feel like I want to have a nap. That's what's going to rejuvenate me. But I know it, like intellectually, I know it. If I go outside with her and have a walk, that will make me feel better. But similarly, and I know we're writers and we're talking to creators here, and our audience listening is probably writers or thinking about writing, or potentially a writer or potentially a creator. And this is where I also say, I'm sorry, dear audience, you are all creators. It's just a matter of whether or not you allow yourself to create something. So knowing that, and the next time you're feeling sluggish or blah, 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 and you just like, oh, I'm just gonna chill and watch Netflix. So I shouldn't bash Netflix. I love Netflix, but
I mean, maybe it's Paramount Plus. Maybe it's
exactly. Yeah, I shouldn't just single them out.
You're the thing in couch potato.
Yes. and so
Or
I
rutabaga. Rutabaga. We're not prejudiced against potatoes. I love potatoes.
Couch rutabaga. I've never heard that. And if you're thinking of, or I'm feeling like you, I also don't. I have a pretty strict rules with myself. I don't really create past, I don't know, 2, 3 p.m. because I know myself and I know my creative energies are in the morning. And especially just like you also said, no social media, no junk, no whatever. My best stuff is going to be as early. I don't mean necessarily early according to the clock, but early according to my inner clock as
Yeah.
to the closest I am to sort of dream state. And that's when for me the real good stuff comes up.
Yeah.
So that's, and also when you know yourself and you know your body, and if you're, and again, because we're talking through about adversity, I know this seems kind of maybe weird, but maybe people can relate. But my confidence levels decrease as the afternoon goes on.
Really?
And so I know this, and it helps if you consciously learn things about yourself. And I know that I shouldn't start new projects. I shouldn't think about, oh, great new ideas, because I'll think they're stupid. And I do more admin work or marketing work or
Right.
something less creative side of the brain, because I'm going to doubt myself.
Yeah.
So writing through adversity, we're talking here, if learn to know your sort of body clock and your creative clock,
Yeah.
and when things work best for you, and be good to yourself.
Yeah.
If I started a writing project at whatever 8, 9 p.m.,
Right.
I'd be a mess. I'd be a wreck. It'd be terrible. I'd be frustrated. Like, oh, I
Yeah.
can't do anything. I'm stupid. I'm terrible. I'm that whatever. And so I just know, nope, nope, nope. I talk about, I'm here. It sounds like I'm bashing consuming. I don't mean that at all. I mean more, because we do need the intake. So
Right.
go watch that Netflix in the afternoon or evening or night. But then I do want to have the daily creation, or
Right.
the exhaust as well.
Well, yeah, it's like you're saying, you're wanting to match your what you know about your body, your mind, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Your circadian rhythms, all those things. You're
yes,
trying to match it to the input and the output and all those things.
yeah, yeah,
Because when they're mismatched, or when you try to follow the advice that, well, this works for someone else and that may not work for you, that's where
exactly.
the stress can be even harder on you. So it's like, yeah,
Yes,
but Mark said do this. No, no, no. This is what Mark
right.
does, because Mark listens to his body.
Yeah,
Bradley
eh,
listens to his body as well. I think
yeah,
that's a really important element. I know the other thing the other thing that helps me is helping other people. I mean, it's why wide for the win, right? Wide for the win. I
yeah,
mean, I'd be way better off just focusing on my writing and just getting more writing done. But
yeah,
I've been in the industry for over 35 years. I've seen
yeah,
the ins and outs. I've seen the trials and tribulations, and I know that there's so many predators out there preying on writers. I want to invest my time and energy in helping other authors. I'm going to give a personal example. A few years ago, I was slated to be at a conference, and one of the main keynote speakers for the that Saturday the conference
yeah.
was had something come up and had to bail at the last minute. So about a week before the conference, the organizers contacted me and said, "Hey, I've seen you on stage. I know you can do this last minute. Would you be able to step in and do Saturday's keynote?"
Yeah,
And I said, "Yeah, of course. I understand the bind you're in. Of course, I've got this covered. What's the theme? What's the topic? I'll be there. I've got you. Don't worry." My mom died just 2 days before the conference, and
oh wow,
and it wasn't completely unexpected, but it wasn't expected. So it
yeah,
happened, and that was obviously very devastating for me. I happened to have been there with her when she died, because I was about to leave her and go to the conference and then come back and continue the caregiving and stuff that I was doing. So I was glad that I was there with her. So that was good. But she had deceased, and there was nothing for me to do.
yeah,
But there
wow,
was someone and a group of people that needed something from me, that I could do something positive. And yes, I was wallowing in grief. And yes, it was hard. And yes, it was painful. But
yeah,
I actually knowing this about myself, I knew letting them down at the last minute would not be good. I would still be wallowing in guilt, and then also feeling guilty about not helping them.
yeah,
So
yeah,
I flew out to the conference. I gave it my best, because the other thing is, I ended up channeling that energy into helping other people. And I thought, okay,
Wow.
if I can provide this, that helping other people gave me an intrinsic value and reward. And it's like this, my
Yeah.
mom would be proud of me that
Yeah. Wow.
I used my abilities and my knowledge and my skills to help people. And again would know, yes, I'm coming back to take care of things and all those
Right.
things. And yes, of course, then I will focus on it. But again, for me, I do get an intrinsic reward from
Yeah.
those activities. So knowing that about myself. Now, if I'm the type of person who couldn't handle it, I think it would have been completely understandable. I reached out to the
Right.
organizers. I said, you probably saw on social media this happened. Don't worry. I'm not going to leave
Uh,
you. I'm coming still. Everything's good. Don't worry about it. Because I didn't want them to feel bad,
yeah.
or whatever, or have to scramble at the last minute. And I know not everyone has that in them, but I knew that about myself, knowing that I would feel even worse if I'd have two things to feel
Yeah.
bad about. So at least I could
Right.
feel good about this one
Jeez.
thing. And again, maybe it was a distraction too, right? Sometimes you need a distraction. And
Yeah.
oftentimes at sad or morose events, oftentimes that's where the weird humor comes out with family members and stuff like that. It was like, did you remember laughing at Dad's funeral? Yeah. Why were we laughing? Well,
Oh,
we were remembering something funny he had done, that kind of thing, right?
wow.
So, oh, this is an important one, right? From Susie. Do you want to read it?
Yeah. So on the flip side of helping others, Susie's clearly paying attention to us. Erin mentioned being vulnerable enough to ask for help when you need it, which is important because there are plenty of marks in the world happy to help.
Yeah,
Wow.
so
This is
important.
good.
And
Yeah.
especially in this writing community, there's so
Yeah.
many people who get you and understand you. Um,
Yeah.
so reach out for help. And here's the other thing, because social media can be a downward spiral, especially the doom scrolling and stuff like that. And I know we've said this before, but maybe potentially now more than ever, with a whole bunch
Yeah.
of people saying, I can't do this, I can't be on Facebook, I can't do whatever. I mean, if you're in the Facebook group on Wide for the Win, you just want to get writer stuff, and now you're getting all this other stuff. Fortunately,
Yeah.
there's a lot of wonderful people who are posting pictures of their cats and stuff like that to make people smile. But
Yeah.
you go to Circle, you go to the Circle community for Wide for the Win, wideforthewin.com, and you can link to Circle from there. You don't
Yeah.
have to deal with anything other than let's talk writing.
Yeah. Also related to what you said and what Susie said. So I'm a basketball coach as well as a writing and marketing coach, but the basketball coach, the clarity of some examples is really just amazing. So the boys, I teach like teenage boys, coach teenage boys, and not all of them, no, in fact, most of them won't ask for help. And so, but some of them, the rare ones that do, it's such a joy as a coach. I mean, those are my favorite players. The ones who ask me. I mean, because of course they're boys or teenagers. They think, oh, that's probably a sign of weakness. Asking the coach for help. Hey, coach, how do I do this? How do I how do I do my where do I put my elbow for my shot? Right.
Yeah.
And the boys that ask me that. So here, if you're looking for help, number ask for it, and then try to keep in the back of your mind, like true teachers and true coaches, they just love it from their heart to want to help. And
Yes.
those are my favorite players, the ones who not only ask for the help, but I admire them for getting over that hurdle, even if it's like an unwritten hurdle of, oh, if I ask for help, I'm weak. Whereas I don't
Yeah.
see that at all. I see the opposite. I see
Oh,
asking for help as a sign of strength because you're
yes.
showing your vulnerability and you're going to grow from it.
100%. I actually do see that. And I mean, on a similar light, I say this to authors when I'm at events and stuff like that. When people come up and approach me and ask questions or whatever, I will do everything I can to help you. And
Yeah.
I'm so appreciative that you were brave enough to come ask me a question, because
Yeah.
I'm too
Yeah.
chicken to go over there.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, I admire that. And yeah, the vulnerability of saying, you know what, I could use this advice, I could use a hug, I could use
Yeah.
whatever it is.
Yeah.
Um, I guess I believe in the goodness of people. I believe in the goodness that if you do
Yeah.
request something, usually the average person, if it's within their power to fill that void for you, to provide
Yeah.
something, I think we are, yeah, as teachers, as
Yeah.
mentors, as coaches, yeah, of course you're going to be there for you.
Yeah. And if they're not the kind of people you want to be dealing with anyway.
Yeah, yeah.
If they're
Wow.
the kind they're going to attack you because you're down, then
Yeah,
you don't need them in your world anyway. I
yeah,
remember there was a great quote, a guy, Wayne Dyer, some people might know him, and he said he had a voice that he's kind of old school, and he had on his voice recording messaging machine, which tells you how old school he was.
yeah. He's
And
as
he
old
would
as I
say,
am.
yeah, right, me too. And he would say, he said, yeah, I'm working on myself. So he said on the message machine, hey, thanks for calling you back. You are part of that change.
Okay, I like
I
that.
don't know if I cut out there. I seem to cut out.
It cut out a little bit, but yeah, yeah. And I've sold a lot of his books over the years as a bookseller too.
Oh yeah. Oh wow. Yeah. So basically, he was saying, if you are not part of, what's bringing me up in the world, then I don't. I mean, it's a little brutal, but we need to do it. Then if you're bringing me down, then I don't really need you or want you in my life.
Yeah,
I want people
yeah,
who are bringing me up because I want to go up. I want to go up too, and I also want to bring you up.
yeah. I love I love that because we sometimes end up wasting a lot of resources and time on that wrong piece, and it's okay. We make
Yeah.
we all make mistakes. We all make
Yeah.
errors.
Yeah.
Like I think of it as stories. It's like, nah, I tried. This story is not going to go
Yeah.
anywhere. I'm going to
Yeah.
now focus my energy on this other piece, this other thing that is actually working as well.
Yeah.
And that's okay. You're allowed to. You're allowed to say, "Oh wow, I made a mistake. I'm going to try again."
Right. Right.
As well. So, any final thoughts? As we've already hit half an hour.
Just on that note, I lived in San Francisco for many years and were very influenced through Silicon Valley and the pros and cons and whatever you think of Silicon Valley, but they have some really interesting and intriguing, like, sort of business ideas. And one of theirs is fail fast, fail often.
Yeah.
And it's very much like what you just said. And I think as writers, so much of us suffer from procrastination based in perfectionism.
Hmm.
And we're not even going to start. And it's kind of going back to the tiny win, right? The tiny success.
Yeah.
I want to start that tiny little project, and I'm going to see quickly, is it a total bomb? Is it a failure? Because if so, I want to be done with it. That's where it's fail fast, fail often,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
fail fast, fail
Exactly.
quickly, right? And so start that thing, see how it is, start your short story, start your novel, start your book, whatever. If it's completely a total disaster, no worries, no harm done.
Yeah.
I think the worst case is you keep going on something that's terrible and you just drag it out because, oh, I started,
Yeah.
and you then you waste away kind of with the initial
Yeah.
energy, whereas maybe you should just chuck it and start on something new. So
Yeah. Yeah.
fail fast, fail
Similarly.
often.
Yeah, and similarly, if social media is getting you down or whatever,
Yeah.
nobody says you have to be there. It's not actually going to help you
Yeah.
sell books. It's
Right.
not. We know that. So if it's taking you down, if it's taking you down the wrong path, you can abandon it. Yeah, and you
Yeah.
can return to it. A friend of mine who's been focusing on that in the last several years or so, when they need their fix, they will grab their partner's phone and go get their fix by specifically going to the places that
Oh,
bring them up
right.
without having to go and do the scroll and hope for the dopamine rush, right? And they're
Yeah.
just going and getting the elements that they want, and
Yeah.
they've never been more productive.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. On that
awesome.
note, if it were easy, everybody would do it.
Yeah, yeah,
Things that are
exactly.
hard, that's why we're creators.
Yeah, exactly. And
Yeah.
but also quit the things that aren't working. Better to quit and move on to something that might
Yeah.
work. Well, Bradley, thank you so much. I get to
Yes.
see you in person next week,
Yes.
and we got to hang out this afternoon.
I know. Awesome. Wow. 2 for 1. We're even in a similar time zone.
Ooh, we're only 3 hours difference this
I
time. That's as
know. I
close as
know.
we've been in a long time.
I
Awesome. Well, I
know.
look forward to seeing you, and thank you everyone
Yes.
for watching Seuss Susie, thank you for the awesome comments. Thank you guys for watching. You can check out more. We do have the audio feed for this for the podcast, but come and check us out over at wideforthewind.com.
Great. Thanks, Mark. Thanks, everybody.
Right. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to the Wide for the Win podcast. The music for this podcast, Sax and Rock and Roll, was composed and recorded by Kevin MacLeod and was licensed for use in this recording. Stay in touch with fellow Wide authors at wideforthewin.com and check out the regular live Wide streams over at youtube.com/wideforthewin.